It's the Mustang Insider Show. Now, here's Chris Sylvester.
This is another edition of the Cal Poly Mustang Insider. We're going to chat with men's soccer head coach Steve Sampson as we prep you for the big blue-green soccer match at Alex G. Spanos Stadium this Wednesday, September 21st. But as always, we'd like to thank our partners for making this possible. You can trust that quality care is just around the corner at French Hospital Medical Center. Proud supporters of Cal Poly Athletics. Learn more at dignityhealth.org/French Hospital. Also want to thank Grocery Outlet. They've got sizzling fajitas, hearty beef sliders, bite-sized mini taco cups, and a mouth-watering Southwest chicken bowl, among other things. Mustang fans, you won't want to miss these dishes in the Grocery Outlet Mustang Tailgater Recipe Book. Get it all at Grocery Outlet, San Luis Obispo, right off Madonna. So it is the biggest sporting event on the Central Coast year in and year out, and it's the biggest rivalry in college soccer. Steve Sampson, Cal Poly men's soccer head coach, joins us as we prep you for the big blue-green game this Wednesday at Alex G. Spanos Stadium. Coach, how have you been? I know it was a roller coaster of an offseason for you, but it's great to see you still in the green and gold here on the Central Coast.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's been, like you said, a little bit of a roller coaster. As you know, I retired late last year after the season, and it was due to the fact that I had to have some neck surgery. And I just felt that the amount of time that I would have had to be away really wasn't going to do any favors for the program. But then Don Oberhelman asked me if there was any way that we could make an agreement where he could keep me around. And I said, look, let me go through my surgery. Let me have time to recover. And then once I'm recovered, I'll get back in the saddle and get things done. And he agreed to it. So I am happy to be back. I'm excited to be back. And even though we've had a rough start so far this season and we're young, I'm really excited about this team. And not only for this year, but for a number of years to come.
Oh, and it's great to hear that it's not just one last go. I mean, you're looking at this as a chance to build this program into what you've always envisioned. And I know you guys had a competitive group last year, and you lost some key guys from the 2021 roster. So, what was the lead up to the start of this season? And take me through the ups and downs of maybe having a younger group like this compared to some of your other teams at Cal Poly.
Well, that group that we had last year was really a product of 3 or 4 years of developing those players, of taking them across the country and playing the likes of Georgetown and Maryland and Wake Forest and Notre Dame and Indiana. And that bore some fruit. It really did. I mean, the guys that we had last year, we had a number of leaders on the field all the way down the spine of the team. We had 7 or 8 seniors. We had players that had tremendous experience and things that they could fall back onto that would allow them, to make good decisions on the field and be really competitive. So this year we did the same. We went back east and we played the likes of Dayton, who is in the top 20 in the country, and so is Ohio State, and so is Portland. We literally went out and played them back to back over 4 or 5 days. Came back here, had 3 days of training. Went up to Portland and played, I think one of the best teams in the West Coast right now. So we have exposed these guys to some very, very good talent and some experienced teams. And it really exposes what we need to work on. It did expose our youth. But having said that, not one guy has given up. Their attitudes have been fantastic. There's no hanging of the heads. I mean, we had a little bit of we went backwards, I would say, a little bit when we played against USF, and that was disappointing. We had a few, I would say 3 or 4 key players that were injured prior to that match. But I think after that, we played against St. Mary's, a very good team in the West Coast in the WCC. And we played much more organized defense. We played with heart. We played with passion. And the guys really, I think, made some fantastic strides to where I need them to be at in order to compete with the best teams in the country.
Yeah, just a couple of home matches, and you'll start to get more of them. You open up this homestand this week at Santa Barbara, and then San Diego, your last non-conference tune-up before you start the Big West season. So, what do you take away from the last couple of matches from your team? I know you mentioned St. Mary's, really quality opponent out of the West Coast Conference. Felt like you guys were just an eyelash away from either drawing or maybe winning that match at home over the weekend.
Yeah, I really felt that it would have been very easy for our team um, to really give up after the USF match. That was a really tough match, from a competitive standpoint and also from a psychological standpoint. But what was great is that these guys rolled up their sleeves and decided that they wanted to, change things. And we made a few changes in the lineup. We brought maybe a few different players in off the bench that hadn't seen a lot of playing time in previous matches. And I think that helped. But more than anything else, they decided that they wanted to play with a lot more physicality, a lot more emotion, a lot more heart. And that showed. And we were very close. We created, I think clearly and easily three good quality chances that we should have put away. And we didn't. I mean, their goalkeeper came up big with Max Kleinhavis, was 1v1 against him. But those are the kinds of situations that we have to, do better at. We have to be a lot more composed in front of the goal. But where we showed, I think, great strides was in our defensive effort. Much more compactness in our defense. Gave them absolutely nothing in behind us. St. Mary's, who has a lot of well-balanced talent from one side of the field to the other and front to back, was kept to, one goal. And, obviously they did a very good job against us defensively, but I was really proud of our guys and the way they defended against St. Mary's. So we can build upon that, and we plan to against Santa Barbara.
Chatting with Cal Poly men's soccer head coach Steve Sampson, Mustangs at home a couple of times this week. Who are some of the young guys, some of the newcomers that you felt like have really made some strides from opening day to, this final week of non-conference action?
Oh, Sean Matei is a fine young player who plays on the right side of the midfield or higher up in the wing. Banyan Lyon, he scored in one of our two exhibition matches for us. He's come on and shown some real talent offensively. We just got to get him to play a much more complete game and play on both sides of the ball. We've had a lot of young players that are in their second year but didn't play last year, like Sebastian Mazza. Sebastian's come in and played in the back line for us. He's growing into the position. Every day I see him getting better. His ability to play balls over distance out of the back, his ability to understand spatial relationships with players. I think Connor Lieber, literally he's in his second year. He's literally a redshirt sophomore who didn't play during the pandemic. Nathan Colley, who is the same situation. He's a redshirt sophomore. He's come in, a captain for us, been a tremendous leader. Incurred some injury and was out for a couple games. We missed that leadership in both the USF game and in the Houston Baptist match, but he's now back and healthy for the Santa Barbara match. So I think he's going to be, quite an addition for us. Andrew McGee, and Richie Garcia, two players that play high up in the midfield as playmaking midfielders for us. Both are exceptionally talented. Richie has been a true playmaker for us high up the field, but needs to work a little bit harder on the defensive side of his game. But the one player who I thought was the player of the game against St. Mary's was Andrew McGee. He came on and he is so talented, so technically gifted in tight spaces. His ability to play make high up the field, to get behind defenses, to combine with other players. And the one part of his game that I didn't expect him to show as well was the defensive side, and he was getting stuck in hard tackles. So he's a proven contender now for that position.
You look at this young group and you just feel like, maybe a win here this week would really start to change things as you get into conference play. Hey, I've asked Don Oberhelman about this. I've talked to Bo Baldwin, Alex Crozier about this. I want to get your thoughts on your new home turf at Spanos Stadium. What type of difference does that make for you guys?
Well, I think the purists in the game of soccer always want to play on natural grass. But if you have a football team at your university and there's a chance of there being poor weather on a Saturday and you playing a home game on a Sunday, there's a great chance that that's going to affect the quality of the field. So I'll take the good, and sort of ignore the bad. I mean, the quality of the field actually is outstanding. It's a true playing surface. There's no bouncing when the ball. It's a true roll of the ball. The bounce of the ball is realistic to a grass field. So I think the field turf company has provided us an outstanding surface to play in. And probably the thing that I like the most about the change is the fact that we have now our locker room right next to the field. We have, for the first time since I've been here, the opportunity to have what we call a locker room culture. We literally, can have our meetings right next to our field. They get changed and dressed. And they can play music prior to a game or prior to a training session. They walk out onto Spanos Field, and that's exactly where we train and play our games. So from that standpoint, that's a huge plus for us. And then lastly, the fact that they've been able to widen the field. I don't know if you remember that there was a cement block on the west side of Spanos Stadium that was about a yard to a yard and a half wide and about 1 or 2 yards high. They literally raised the field and covered that. And so we've now gained an extra yard and a half to 2 yards of width. So we now actually have regulation width, NCAA regulation width for us to play home NCAA matches and Big West matches.
Sounds like everything's kind of coming together with your program and the facilities and whatnot. I know you're always looking to make improvements in any way that you can. Santa Barbara, they come to town. It's always a raucous environment. Tortillas are flying all over the place. Kids are acting crazy. It's a terrific week to have it with everybody kind of coming back to campus. In your experience coaching in this game, what's your favorite aspect of it?
Well, when I was an international and professional coach, we never had fans come onto the field after a victory. It just wasn't allowed. I mean, for me, it was the first time it happened back in 2015. It was, and it's happened like 3 or 4 times since then. I mean, it was incredibly special. It was actually a shock to me when it first happened. Players are being carried off the field. Fans are, coming on and celebrating with the players at the end of a victory. So for me, I think it's really, really special. I'm not a big fan, to be honest, of the tortilla throwing. I'm not a big fan of what that leads to. That tradition started down in Santa Barbara when the previous coach was here. And as long as it has a feel of, relative safety, then I'm all for it. Once it starts to where they're rolling up the tortillas and throwing them on the field, or once we start seeing bottles thrown on the field, then I'm not a big fan of that. And, last year they literally had to stop the game 2 or 3 times in order to announce to all the fans in the stadium to behave themselves. We hope that that's going to be the case tomorrow night. We want the fans to come in and celebrate with our players and to root us on and to support us and to help us towards victory. But we just want to make sure that the players and fans stay safe in the process. But I'm a huge fan of this. This is the biggest rivalry in the country. There's no other soccer program in the country between the 2 schools that compare to this rivalry. So there's a certain amount of obligation on our part. 1, to play well, 2, for it to be safe, and for it to be a showcase for soccer across the country.
Yeah, well said. I mean, it really isn't like this anywhere else. We're not exaggerating when we call it the best rivalry in college soccer. I mean, you guys put together one game there, one game here, regardless. I mean, this game's not going to count towards the Big West standings, but it means so much that it's still on the schedule each and every year. Now, you look at this Santa Barbara team, and they're loaded. I mean, they've gotten off to a terrific start this year. They've been in the top 25. What are the key matchups for you guys to try and find that win column for the first time tomorrow night?
Well, the one thing that Tim Von Stieg has done is that, consistently, they bring quality players into the program. I know he has gone out and recruited a lot of international players this year and has had quality international players on his squad in the past. They do a great job of rotating players from deep positions into high positions. they try to draw us out by front runners coming into the midfield, forcing us to, to either mark them or let them go and to place change with our players. So that rotation is something that I think has boded well for them in the past. They have some individually gifted, speedy, athletic players, but I do think that GCU from Arizona exposed some of their weaknesses. I'm not going to be real specific about that because I don't want to give anything up to the opposition, but I think that we have some advantages in our squad that's going to be playing them tomorrow night that can get in behind them. We need to maintain our compactness in order to keep Santa Barbara in front of us. We can't allow them to get in behind us. We can't give them time and space on the ball. We have to respect the fact that they're, a very athletic and very cohesive team that combines well to get behind defenses. So we have to be on our A game. I mean, literally for our young players and even what we call our experienced redshirt sophomores, and we only have 3 seniors in the entire squad. We have to bring our A game for this, but our fans, encourage us to do that. Our players are always up for this game. So I think you're going to see a very inspired and passionate team in Cal Poly tomorrow night.
Yeah, and I think the fans are going to very much mirror that energy at Alex G. Spano Stadium. Coach, always appreciate catching up with you. Really good to see you still in the green and gold, and we wish you the best on and off the pitch here moving forward. Looking forward to the Big West season and hope we can catch up again sometime soon.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and Art19. Until next time, I'm Chris Sylvester. This has been the Mustang Insider from Learfield.
This has been the Mustang Insider Show. The preceding has been a Learfield's presentation on the Cal Poly Sports Network.